Okay, I got a question now for Bryan. Your company is on the cybersecurity scary front line. What new threats are you seeing in the mobile application landscape with the growing 5G network?
What we see in the 5G landscape, and something that S.L.J and Nimit both talked about, was that people have to start thinking about things in the security first mindset. They have to ask themselves, what data could possibly be compromised and what could possibly be done with that mobile application? Not only from a security perspective with personal information, but what would happen reputationally if that data was accessed? And the reason that I mention that is when we start looking at the 5G landscape and the 5G landscape in general, what we see is a lot of projected adoption of what was traditionally a telecom network being adopted and being used for a lot of things that weren't traditionally on those networks. And we have to start thinking of things in a very, secure way, in the way that we think about traditional networks, where, a lot of times what we see is the mobile apps were the add-on or the afterthought, or, things from the cell phone were almost not looked at with the same level of security that you wanted to look at the rest of your network. So 5G is introducing a lot more usage, and I think people have to start thinking about it in a much different way and start treating their mobile app like they would anything else that's facing out or getting customer access on their network, with the level of security first, then designing into function, but making sure they're providing that security function that they really needed to start with.
So are there new threats per se, or just the same things but a different flavor?
I think a lot of them are going to be the same threats that we've experienced, but we're going to experience them on the 5G side of the world, where traditionally, you would take an IoT device, you drop it out somewhere, maybe you put a wired network or you put a wireless network near it and secured it that way. When you start looking at 5G, you're going to start seeing some of those IoT devices going directly to the 5G networks. And you start seeing a lot more adoption, and you're going to see a lot more usage of the 5G, because as we look at Starlink and we start looking at some of the different technologies out there, we're going to see 5G be primary wireless communication for a lot of people. And that's just not something that's been done in the past for people. So you're all of a sudden going to take that network, and it's no longer that little telecom network that's just running your mobile app or your mobile devices. It's now a network that's running a lot more communications, or has a possibility of running a lot more. Every time we hear a new discussion about 5G, we hear different proposed adoptions, I would say. And I think that's where we're going to see a little bit of a change. So it's not that all of a sudden the hackers are going to get smarter. It's they're going to say, hey, what haven't they fixed? As Biljit said, you have to worry about the security posture of your devices and of your applications, because if you haven't gone out and secured your APIs, or you haven't secured the way your data was transferred before you did this, this is going to become a very frontline issue for you in terms of your security landscape as that adoption drives even more and more.